Hello, and welcome to today's live stream. Today, we're going to be talking about most common mistakes any new IT entrepreneur or online entrepreneur might be committing. So, whenever you join live or if you're watching a replay, make sure to drop me a comment and say hi to me. I'd appreciate that. Sorry, that something is wrong with the audio. So if you can hear me right, please let me know that in the chat when you join, and so that I know that everything is set up. Okay, great. So let's go on straight to the topic, because if you know me, if you've been long enough with me, you know that I'm all about making it practical, even if it's not covered with sugar, whatever. I'm all for making it short and practical. So let's get to it. Hi, Leonid. Hi, Alexandra. Great to see you live here. So let's move on to our slides. And as you can see, I've prepared for our today's live stream, where we will be talking about typical mistakes of a new entrepreneur and how to avoid them, obviously by not committing these mistakes. And today we'll talk about common mistakes that any new entrepreneur might be committing. And if you make it to the end, I will give you a bonus of 6 more sales mistakes that you might be committing as a new IT entrepreneur. So let's start with the 10 most common mistakes any new entrepreneur commits. And the first one is quitting with no plan, no backup plan, nor savings, whatever, you name it. And again, if you've been here long enough with me on this channel, you know that I'm all for starting it safe and for working it safe and for starting your business so that you don't go bankrupt from the very beginning. And that is not to say that no such thing as a success exists when a person just quits their job and without, any backup plan, out of desperation, determination, you name it, whatever. And that is not to say that such cases do not exist, because mathematically speaking, there is no such thing as 100% of probability of anything. So let us just assume that there is a 99.9% of those who quit with a plan and make it a success, versus that 1%, 0.01% of people who quit without having a plan and then make it big. But then there is another side of the coin here, which we might not witness as the consumers of those success stories, right? Because probably they actually had a plan, or they had some sort of a plan if they end up in failure. But if you're not a person who is careless enough to just drop everything and start their business, I recommend you quitting with a plan, meaning that you either have savings, or if the worst has happened, say you lost your money, you don't make any money for several months, and you end up being on streets, still you're okay with it. So you should understand your limits. You should understand what you're willing to risk and what you can't risk, whatever happens. And that is why I'm telling you that quitting with no plan is actually a mistake, because most entrepreneurs that I know, they had a plan. And most people who started their businesses actually started these businesses as their side hustles. And after starting to work on their business for 4 hours per week, 5 hours per week, during weekends, during nights, whatever, and as soon as they start making profits enough to cover their basic salary or whatever salary they are comfortable with, only then they were ready to quit their day jobs. And that is actually the way that I'm recommending you to take, because obviously, for obvious reasons, if you have a family for you that relies on you, if you have low resistance, low stamina, if you cannot bear being a failure, if you cannot bear being without money, so don't commit this mistake. Make a plan before you quit your day job, and a backup plan too, because if plan A doesn't work, what you're going to do. Okay, so the next mistake many people, many new entrepreneurs commit is stealing clients from their current employers. And just like the bear here says, it's not cool, man, not cool. And so, like, do I have to explain here? Firstly, that is like sort of against of moral principles, if you have any. And if we don't speak about morals, that is okay, because business is business, nothing personal, right? Still, there is such thing as your business reputation, and I wouldn't recommend you going this way. That is not to say that it might not work. Yeah, it might work in some cases, and if you decide to go this way, just make sure that there is no penalty involved, that you have like no non-competitors agreement with your current employer, because in many cases you are required to sign not only non-competitive agreement, but also that actually for sales positions, that is for sure, that you cannot steal your clients, your current clients of your current employer from your employer. And I had such an agreement signed when I've been working as a salesperson, and like literally I never considered this an option of stealing client from a current employer. Yes, you will bring all the connections, all the network with you anyways, people who worked with you, like even your clients, if you've been an account manager for these clients, if you've been, say, a project manager, or just the first person in the company who delivered this work for this client, of course, they will be like more dedicated, more interested in making a business with you and doing the business with you than, say, with your employer, who's just like a company. Like most clients don't care about companies, they care about personalities and about their contractors, and that is okay. And you absolutely can work with your former connections, former co-workers. Even if you decide to start a service business and you want to invite your current co-workers to work with you, you can absolutely do that. If you have, again, if you don't have any legal agreements signed, that you cannot do that. But that should also go like in sort of a dignified way. You cannot steal like your co-workers from current projects, because you don't want your employer to curse you. And same goes for the client. If this is a running client of your current employer, don't do that. Reputation goes a long way, and you don't want to start your business by being a thief, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next slide, because there is a lot more to come. And that is the common mistake number 3, is counting on making zillions from day one. As you might guess, that is not the case with many service and product businesses, actually, because starting a business is like sort of like just Elon Musk says, chewing the glass and staring into the into the eternity, right? So again, this is not about like money when you're just starting a business, because you should be aware that it takes a lot of work and thorough planning for you to start making profits. If you start making profit, I mean any profit from day one, I would count that as a success, and you should too. If you start making profits from day one, however low, however small it is, you are a successful entrepreneur. Congrats. If you're not going into the negative with your business, that is already considered to be a success, because most businesses don't make a single dollar in the first few months of operation. For example, let me give you a personal example here. Again, I'm not ashamed of admitting that. We started to make profits from day one. Yes. But I did not assign myself a salary for several months, for about half a year, for 7 to 8 months after we started the business. So that is, again, something that you will be considering later on. How that was actually my another mistake, because you should assign yourself a salary starting day one if you have a profit coming in. As soon as you have a profit, you're eligible to pay yourself a salary, even if it's say like $50 per month. Start with whatever you're comfortable. $100, $1,000, $2,000. Set a minimum salary that your business allows you to. Okay, so that is another mistake. But counting on making zillions from day one, that is not why you should be starting a business. Yes, actually, we're all for making money, making more profits, and being our own bosses. Yes, but that is not from day one. In service businesses, this is actually exponential growth, but I would say very slow exponential growth. So don't count on making rapid profits in service businesses. It takes a lot of time. And that takes us to the next mistake many entrepreneurs make, and that is work less, earn more from day one. And you see the reaction of this gentleman here on this slide. And yes, this is actually the case, because in the beginning it will take a lot of time to set up your business, because you will have to set up everything. Firstly, what first thing you should care about is your profit, your sales, your client base, growing your client base, your contractors, your employees. So setting up all of this, it takes a lot of time and effort. And that is why when I'm coaching clients, for some of them, I don't recommend starting a business at all, because what they're coming to me with is, I would like to work less, but still make profit. I say, yes, okay, but how many hours are you willing to commit for the first several months of your operation, like operating your business, right? So how many hours? Well, not much, they say, a couple of hours per week. Bad news here, it won't work. So in the beginning, it will take a lot more, even more sometimes than 40 hours per week, something that you have in your day job, right? So again, in the beginning, it's not about working less and earning more. You will come to that. I promise you will come to that, but not from the day one. And it is different. It is different for different businesses and different entrepreneurs and different business owners. It is different. Sometimes you come to that after the first month. That is, super fast success. Sometimes you come to this after several months or several years. So it takes time again, depends on the effort you're putting in the beginning of your business. The more you put in time, effort, money, whatever, the better the outcome would be. Okay, so let's move on to the next common mistake many new entrepreneurs commit, and that is thinking you can outsource operations, sales, recruiting, finances, whatever, 100% and just enjoy deals and cash flow. And just like I've already mentioned, if we speak like in math terms, there is no such thing as 100% probability of anything, and let alone such important business processes as sales, finances, operations, whatever. Yes, you will be able to outsource these things later, like along your entrepreneurial journey, but not from the very beginning. Just like the previous slide says, just like the previous mistake suggests, that is not something you can just outsource from day one and just enjoy your cash flow. No, unfortunately, this is not the case. And I'll explain why a little bit later when we will come to speaking about sales mistakes that you might be committing as a new entrepreneur. But just here, let me mention that you will have to dedicate a certain amount of time to set up all of these processes yourself. Firstly, because you want to be in control, especially when it comes to the finances. And I will just share one example here. I know a company where the owner technically doesn't dedicate a lot of his time to his business, but he controls all of the financial workflows, each and every bit of it, each dollar that comes in or out of his business. He is the middleman in the process. Even though he has an accounting department, whatever department, he has set up all of the financial flows and workflows in his company, and now he enjoys the outcome. He owns an outstaffing company, so it doesn't require a lot of management here. So yes, you can set it up and then enjoy the outcome. But then again, You should dedicate your time in setting up those processes, and that comes a long way. If we speak about finances, recruiting, operations, whatever, firstly, you will understand what is happening in your business, and secondly, you will be in control so that there is no dirty undercapped games when you grow bigger and when your staff decides that they can take advantage of you, if you know what I'm saying, okay? So let's move on to the next mistake that any new IT entrepreneur or online entrepreneur might be committing, and that is not having a core team to rely on. And yes, just like you might see in the slide, you might feel a little bit like this. And not only it comes to feeling sort of an abandoned in your entrepreneurial journey, even though that is also the case, because when you're just starting out and say, for example, if you experience some sort of failures in your business, for example, if your primary client or whatever client you've been counting on just goes away, leaving you without like any profit, any income, like leaving you with nothing, basically. So you have to start all over again, and it's really devastating and it's really discouraging. And if there is no one to cheer you up, and if there is no one to have your back, to just be there for you, to listen to, or just to stay with you throughout these issues and throughout these challenges, you might, if you have like low stamina, you just can drop it all. For example, I consider myself being sort of a stress-resistant person by this time, but there were times in my business as well, multiple times, when I was considering just closing the business for good. And that, well, I had people to rely on, I had my core team, and I had people relying on me, so I just couldn't quit. If I started this all on my own, if I didn't attract anyone, most probably I would have quit by this time. And that is one side of the coin here. And another one is that when you don't have a core team to rely on, and when you run a service business, this means actually that your team is your core asset. Your team is your product. Your people is your product. People who you're selling to other clients, right? Or whose services you're selling to other clients. Say if you're an online entrepreneur who runs a virtual assistant agency or a digital marketing agency, right? And you want to sell your services to some sort of clients, and you don't have anyone to do the job. No matter how many clients you will have, you cannot do this all by yourself, right? You need a team. And yeah, if you don't have a team, you don't have a business. That's what if we speak about service businesses, right? So not having a core team to rely on. If you don't have a core team to rely on, I wouldn't recommend even starting your business. Because when I started my business, even before I invited a co-founder, so I first started the business by myself, and I've been planning to go a slightly different direction because I talked to my ex-coworkers, and I decided that the direction of our service offering will be based on their expertise. And that's how I planned to run my business. And that's how I probably would have run it till today if I didn't invite my co-founder who had different expertise. So we had multiple directions from now on. But if I didn't have any core team to rely on, probably I would have ended my business by now, because obviously you cannot do all the work yourself. You have a business to run and not the dirty job to do all by yourself, okay? So let's move on to the next common mistake many new entrepreneurs commit, and that is hiring random people for major projects. And yes, I'm guilty, your owner, because this is what I did a couple of times, and both times it didn't end well, as you might probably guess. Especially when you start your business and when you have some core clients to start with, to rely on, you want to bring the very best people you have to propose to them, so that firstly, again, your business reputation doesn't suffer, so that they understand what great job you're doing, you as an agency, you as a separate business versus you as an employee, or an individual contractor, right? And thirdly, you want that client to refer you to their connections, to their network. You want to get their references. You want to get their testimonials. And if you attract random people for major projects, guess what will happen? You might guess here, right? And again, I can give you an example here from our personal experience. And we had a very good client, but they asked an expertise outside of what we could offer. Like, you probably know by this time that I run an agency and we specialize in data engineering and natural language processing. And due to the war in Ukraine, we canceled our NLP direction because our engineers had to flee their city. So we only now have data engineering. And that client of ours just came with a request for a different skill set, something we never had in the agency. We just didn't want to lose them. We just didn't want, to let them down because they were sort of a long-standing customer by that time. And we just put on the vacancy and tried to find a person who would be suitable for the position. And all sorts of things happened, and it really, it ended up in us losing the customer. And I just don't want to get into particulars here, but this is what happens. And I've seen this happening multiple times, and not only with running my business, but when I've been working as an employee for another service-based company. And this happens all the time. Don't hire random people for major projects just because you have to fill in the void, the hole with this employee. Okay. Okay, and let me stop a little bit to read your comments. Leonid Alexandra say hi. Jack Daniel says hi. Fernando, glad to see you. Vadim, great to see you here joining us live. Alexandra says, yeah, expectations of great profits from the very beginning of business is really a common mistake. It is. And I had a couple of coaching clients wanted to increase their income, and they wanted to start a business because of this. And my advice was for them to get a better job, a better paid job, because they were not ready to invest their time and effort into their business. Shiram says, hi, Olga, I'm from India. Great to see you. We have people from all over the globe joining us today. By the way, let me know in the chat, where are you from? So we have India here. I know Alexander is from Ukraine. So I'm from Ukraine. So who else is joining us? Let me know that in chat. I'm just really interested on the geography of our community here. Jack Daniels says, expecting zillions initially is a common mistake, but the mentality of having zillions should always be there. Yes, I agree here. And just like I mentioned, you will come to this. You will come to this, but just don't expect it to make it from day one, because you will get discouraged if you don't. And most probably you won't. So yes, have your mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, read all of those smart books that set your mindset to a different level, right? To elevate your mindset to a different level. But don't have any expectations of fast profits, because it will just, discourage you way too soon. Okay, so let's move on to the next mistake. And that is not setting up the legal part. And what do I mean here is that not having any legal agreements, such as contractor agreements, with your contractors, your employees, and NDAs, and the operations part, meaning that you don't set up, say, corporate emails. And for corporate emails, most probably you would need a business domain. So not setting up all of this legal part, you don't have to set 100% of it, but at least something, and at least mind something that relates to your core business. For example, don't hire contractors based on their word, merely on your words. Have a contractor agreement with them. Again, don't just start cooperation with your client without signing a legal agreement with them, at least. Whether or not it works, it's a it's a topic for another discussion, but it should be there, and you should have this legal agreement. Without this, just don't start working, okay? And of course, if you're working, say, through Upwork, and if you have your team on Upwork, you have sorts of, you're backed up by Upwork, sort of. But if you're working directly with a client, have all of this set up. And you cannot set this up if you haven't registered your business. Yes, you can start as an individual, but then again, you should divide your individual income and your business income. And for that case, you most probably will have to register a business. So think what would be the easiest way for you to register your business name or whatever. And by the way, if you watched my videos on legal documents that you might need as an IT entrepreneur, as a service-based entrepreneur, if you watched this video, let me know that in the chat. If you haven't, just Google search in my channel legal documents, and you will find a video related to those documents specifically. Okay, so let's move on to the next part, to the next mistake, and that is not paying taxes. Do I have to explain here? Because not paying taxes might result in all sorts of issues you don't want to face with. You have to pay taxes somewhere in whatever country you choose, wherever you choose, but just make it all legit, make it all legal, and don't commit these mistakes. Don't mess up with the law. Just don't. Okay, so let's move on to the next mistake. That's why I just wanted to emphasize this part, because I know that many IT entrepreneurs and online entrepreneurs think that they can not to pay taxes, and that is a choice of their own. And let us be honest with ourselves, we have quite a close-knit community here. There is a lot of possibilities of not paying taxes when running your online business, be it an IT service business or whatever other business. But you just don't want, if you make it big, if you start scaling, if you start seeing some success, you will have to register your business and to pay taxes at some point. And if you haven't set it up from the very beginning, you might experience certain issues and certain fees and fines along the way. We almost did hit this stage when we had to pay a fine, not because we avoided paying taxes, but because we didn't know that we had to pay this specific tax. So just have a consultation with an accountant in a country where you're paying your taxes, and don't just play with the law, okay? Just don't. So let me refer to the chat. Singapore, Jack Daniels. Alexander says, of course, that's right, but not just from the very start, I meant. Okay. Prasanna says, I'm late. Oh, it's okay. We still have several mistakes I want to drive it through. Okay, so the next mistakes, and yeah, related to the taxes, if you haven't watched this episode of mine, make sure you do. And this is how we pay taxes in Estonia. And yeah, just research the country where you would be most interested to pay your taxes. Nowadays, it's all possible, and just another way to consider, another country for you to consider registering your business. Okay, and another common mistake is not learning on someone else's mistakes, not researching the industry, not talking to fellow entrepreneurs who have gone the same road and have the same issues. And let me explain what I mean here. Because when we want to start our businesses, right, we are all excited, we are all determined to make it happen, and we just want to, to make it big, right? However, you can make it easier by learning on someone else's mistakes and by joining the community of like-minded people. For me, it was Facebook groups. And if you want to join those groups, I just recommend you researching Facebook groups. And by now, there are Telegram chats. When I started my business, there were 0 Telegram chats. There was no such thing as Telegram chats. But by now, there are multiple options you can join as a new entrepreneur and, be surrounded with fellow entrepreneurs who face the same issues and who have the same challenges. and who have probably gone through these challenges and learned some lesson and are willing to share with you their experience for free. And that is what I'm suggesting that you do. Firstly, for inspiration, because when we're starting our business, most people would probably feel lonely, because when your ex-coworkers proceed to share their stories on their career success and you're sitting there all miserable because your business just doesn't grow, whatever you do, and you just can't overcome some sort of a challenge, you get discouraged, you have no one to talk to, and at some point, without the help of someone else, we just can't make it further. And that is what I'm suggesting. Like, it's all comes to building our network, right? So just surround yourself with like-minded entrepreneurs, and the places to be is Facebook groups for IT entrepreneurs. There might be some in your local communities, in your countries, so you can Google that. You can try to find those communities and join them. Telegram chats, there is a lot of communities. They have grown like crazy in the recent couple of years. So again, Google and try to find the Telegram chats, maybe from your own country, where they share advice, where they share resumes of candidates, whatever. There are all sorts of supports group. There are communities on Quora, and by the way, I run such a community on Quora. I have neglected it for several months, but I still do update it from time to time. You can join channels like this. You can join other communities. Just search for people from whom you might learn something, so that it's easier for you. You don't have to guess. You don't have to shoot arrows in all directions and hoping it would stick. Okay. Okay, so let's move on, and we've made it to the 10th common mistake that you might be committing as a new entrepreneur. And let's move on. You've made it to the bonus mistakes, and that is related to sales. Actually, these were part of my patrons only masterclass, how to build sales processes in your IT outsourcing business. And some people from this chat have joined this masterclass, and I hope have benefited from it. I'll only share today the common mistakes. We won't be talking, of course, about building sales processes in your business, because again, that is for my patrons only. But let us talk about some of the mistakes you might be committing while building sales processes in your business. Okay, and if I know that Vadim is part of has been present on that masterclass, and I presume Alexander as well. He joined Lyft. So if you were present, let me know and let other people know if you enjoyed that masterclass and if you learned something valuable from that. Okay, that is on Patreon. You can find the link below if you're willing to. And let's move on to the sales mistakes, which probably you might have heard. And that is, the first one is you have to buy an expensive CRM and smart automation sales tools to start selling your services and making profit. And this is something that might actually ruin your sales processes in the beginning of you building them, because without understanding what sort of audience you need, what sort of target audience, what is your ideal client, you just will lose money investing in those CRMs and time, because those CRMs take time to set them up. For example, even the simplest, like something like HubSpot, it takes several months of setting up and tuning up according to your target audience. You can again lose a lot of time trying to set up those automation email sequences in there, something that you probably don't need. You don't need in the beginning of your sales journey, because you have to first learn your potential buyers, your potential clients. You have to first talk to them directly. You have to first learn their pains and what typical questions they ask. You just don't want to be, a machine gunner who just shoots your audience who might not be your audience with random emails. You have to talk to those people in person. You have to approach them directly. And after you learn some patterns, then you can use some automation tools and you will understand your audience better, and you will be a sniper and not a machine gunner. Okay. So let's move on to the next one, and that is you need to hire some local sales representative to boost your sales in another country. And this, again, from not only my experience, but the experience of many other fellow entrepreneurs. And if you find the group that you enjoy, the community of fellow IT entrepreneurs, you can ask the same question and you will receive the same answer, that hiring sales representative overseas. For example, you want to boost sales in the United States, say in Florida state, because in different states there are different requirements and different conditions to hire a person. But say you found someone who say that they are willing to sell. But most probably you want to hire these people for commissions only, right? You don't want to pay them salaries, which if we translate that to the US level of earnings, that would equal to like 10 grand per month. And you probably don't have this money. So you want to hire someone on commissions based only. And if a person says, yeah, okay, if I find someone, I will let you know. Do you think they will? They won't. So let's not dwell upon this. They won't, because why? If they don't have a base salary, probably they work for someone else for a base salary, or have somewhere better commissions that are proven to pay them well, right? If they find someone who's suitable to your requests, and only if this client is not worth it working with for their major employer, only then they will probably maybe transfer them to you if they don't forget to. But you're not their primary source of income. They wouldn't care. Truly, they wouldn't care. And if you're willing even to invest and pay them salary, full-time salary, if you have this $10,000 per month to pay them salary, again, how are you going to control them and the quality of their work? And how are you going to measure their productivity? And if you end up understanding, okay, this person is under-delivering, they are not delivering what I expect, and you just cancel your cooperation after a couple of months, you end up in losing 20 grand, right? So again, this is not something I would recommend doing. And from experience of many fellow entrepreneurs, it just doesn't work, because those people are not interested in transferring you their leads, their clients, their whatever, because more often than not, they do not know you, and they do not know the quality of work you perform. And if those are good clients, they might not want to risk it. And if those are bad clients, you don't want to risk it. So it's never works. Okay, so let's move on to the next sales mistake, and that is that you can 100% outsource sales efforts or hire someone to set up the processes in your business. And we've already mentioned this one among the common mistakes, and this is the same here. Because firstly, you have to understand your business before outsourcing anything. You have to understand your business in depth, from the bottom. You have to get your hands dirty to, again, firstly, talk directly with customers, to understand their pain, to build your customer persona, to later on automate your sales, to set up those email sequences. But firstly, you have to understand what sort of customer, what sort of a client you're working with, right? So you can't 100% outsource your sales efforts from day one. You have to set up your sales processes by yourself, not only to understand your customer, but also to be in control and also to understand where you are going with your business. And if something later, if say you will outsource at some stage, and you will outsource at some stage your sales efforts, but something goes wrong, and if you don't have a clue about your sales processes, you will have a hard time trying to figure out what actually goes wrong. What is wrong with your business? At which stage do you end up losing customers? But if you know your sales processes in depth, if you have built them yourself, you will most probably understand very fast what is happening and at which stage you end up losing customers. So my recommendation is to build the sales processes yourself, and you can learn how from that masterclass of ours. And only then you will be able to outsource this all the sales efforts to someone you hire. Firstly, explaining them how you do it, what you expect this person to deliver, and and only then you can move on to building your business further. The sales mistake number 4 is that you can hire a salesperson for commissions only. And we've just touched this slightly, but we talked about a salesperson who works overseas, right, in another country. But actually, the same goes for the local salesperson, someone you might want to hire locally in your own country for commissions only. But same goes here. Good luck. I know it's not gonna work, because for the same reasons, many people have to eat, not to starve, right? So they have to have some sort of a base salary, and only then they will consider working for you. And again, if they are not working for you, if they are not receiving this base salary from you, most probably they are receiving this base salary from someone else. And most probably they are going to refer their clients to that someone else. And if these are good clients, they won't risk it to refer them to you. So it won't work. So let's not dwell upon this too long, and let's move on to the 5th sales mistake, is that you should sell cheap to get your first clients. And actually, it's a no. Because when I worked for another company, we've tried this approach, and we tried to lower our rates to the bare minimum, just for us to try to enter a desk by that time. At these times, that was called a desk, which is currently Upwork, and we wanted to grow there, to grow our presence there, and it didn't work. And not only because we had cheap rates, we tried to bravure with our rates and to outbeat the cheapest developers on the platform, not only because of that, but also because we did it wrong. And I learned a lot from these mistakes, and now I understand what we did wrong. But back at the times, we thought that we could outbeat the cheapest developers on the platform to just get started and to just get good testimonials. And the answer is no, this is not gonna work. What you should do actually is to find your niche, however cliche it might sound, find your direction and find something you are good at. For example, you're not only, say, back-end developer or front-end developer, but you like an expert in Shopify or some specific framework or some specific domain or some specific language. It's sort of a broad, but let's stop with framework or some database or some platform or maybe some cloud systems, whatever. So try to find the direction where you are an expert, something that is rare and not everybody works with it. Regular developers just don't work with it. Like, you cannot find many of them, right? So find what you're strong at and try to market yourself this way. And we started actually even on Upwork, a very competitive place with the $40 per hour, and that is considered to be high rates on Upwork, which is not true, but for Upwork, these are high rates. So no, you don't have to sell yourself cheap. You just have to sell yourself smart and to find your strong sides and to market them, okay? So the 6th mistake, sales mistake you might be committing, is that you should only take large projects to make profit. And again, this is another mistake we committed at a service company, where like the management just prohibited us of taking up projects that paid less than $10,000 flat. So that was like a bare minimum. Firstly, it was $20,000, then $10,000, and that's it. And that is such a wrong approach, because when a new client comes in and they want to know more about you, they wouldn't trust you with their core project. They wouldn't trust you with a lot of work. They wouldn't sign with you like several years agreement or whatever. They will most probably give you a pilot project, some minor feature, or maybe fix some minor bug or whatever. So they will just give you a small chunk of work for you to prove yourself, for you to show your expertise, your skills, your whatever. And this is where you have to unfold yourself and over deliver during your first pilot project in order to firstly receive a good testimonial, receive referrals, recommendations, and upsell your services to that client. And like always, I'll give you a personal example here. And we had such a client who only gave us like smaller chunk of projects, not because they didn't trust us, but just because they had only, smaller chunks of a project, smaller milestones, and we delivered the first milestone, which was worth like $1,000 or whatever. Then the second one, which was like $3,000. Then the third one, which were few $100s. Then the fourth one, which were few $1,000s. And when we calculated in the end how much this client actually paid us, like in total, it ended up in a huge sum, which was almost equal to what we got from our core client, which is, again, not bad. So you should not only be taking large projects if you have a team to feed, right, to give them projects to. You don't have to only be oriented to large projects. You look at the perspective, whether this client is perspective, whether they will have more milestones, more work, or more recommendations, or maybe they will have some network, they have some great network and you can benefit from it, whatever. So just look at whether or not this client is perspective. Okay, so let us move on to that's the end of slides. Okay, so and this is me working in different companies. And back at the time, these were the most stressful years of my career in all of the companies I worked at. So, but that is related to sales efforts, and I learned a lot from those. So again, don't get discouraged if your sales don't go as planned from day one. You will learn along the way. Just don't have great expectations. Have them somewhere on your vision board, have them somewhere on your calendar or on your like 1 year plan, 5-year plan, but just don't have immediate expectations of immediate success from day one, just to not get discouraged, because you don't want to fail just because you were hit in the very heart, right? Okay, so now if you have any questions, please throw them down in our chat and I'll read your comments. Jack Daniels says point 10 is really very important. And what was our point 10? Let me remember. And that was not having, joining the community. That is really important, because again, I wouldn't have started my own business if I didn't somehow stumbled across. He is now a entrepreneurial coach and IT consultant. He still runs his agency, but he released a small workbook. I would call it work. There's some PDF that contained like 10 slides, 10 sheets. And it was called 10 Steps to Start Your IT Outsourcing Company. And that's how I got inspired. And then he built up his own community, and I followed them for some time. But without this inspiration, I wouldn't even have thought of starting my own outsourcing company. So this is very important indeed. Hello, Olga. I run a consultant firm from India, and my clients are in USA. And my clients keep on asking me to register my business there. I wonder why. Could you help me on this, please? I would recommend you ask them why. Why do they want you to register your business in the USA? Okay, there might be some companies that have some security concerns or some inner policy, but we are working and we worked with huge corporations as well, like and they never had this strict requirement of only working with a US-based company. Never. We even had one pilot project with JP Morgan. We didn't end up in starting a project with them just because we didn't have the right staff. They required NLG people. We didn't have them on board, and I didn't attract them. But even they, when we bespoke like operational issues, they never like even mentioned of us having to register our company in the USA. So I recommend you to ask why. What is their concern? Why would they want you to register your company there? There might be multiple. For example, they might want you to have a US insurance, for example. But this is again not the concern, because even as an Indian-based company, you can get a US insurance from middleman insurance companies, and that is actually what we got. We are also not a US-based company, and still we have US insurance. We have a US account. Maybe they want to send you ACH payments. For example, right, there are ACH payments that are only paid from an American bank to an American bank. But you can have, say, a corporate Payoneer account or a corporate Wise account or any digital account, virtual digital account. I have a video about this actually. And you can have US bank details, like virtual US bank account there, and you can send these details for wire transfers and for ESH payments. I know in Payoneer they have this option for sure, and I'm sure they have this option in Wise, in Revolut, and other banks. So just ask them what their concern is, right? And reassure them and just solve it. I don't see any why they actually would ask you of that. Maybe it's some sort of a weird inner policy. It might be, but it's not a must. Vadim says, Patreon membership is totally worth it. Very useful, actionable advices, and might avoid wasting time on irrelevant details. Thank you, Vadim. Thank you so much for your feedback. Warms my heart. Alexander says, familiar pain about large projects. Everyone wants large projects, not small projects. Once I had a real problem to find a contractor for my very small but quite important project. Yes, and that's I can showcase your comments here. Guys, I found out a new feature of the streaming software. My God. Okay. So yes, that's the case for the client as well. For example, if they want to have some minor issue solved and they want to have it solved like on a professional level, so yes, they would want to hire a good contractor like yourself, like your company. And then if they are satisfied with the quality, they will hire you for the bigger project. Because, for example, I act as a client myself as well. Like I have a client account on Upwork even. And if I had a successful project with a freelancer, who will I go to? Again, to that same freelancer, because I already know them, right? So that's a no-brainer. Prasanna says, thanks for the advice. You're always welcome. And that is again, warms my heart to give you practical tips only. This is something that I know not many even communities provide. For example, I found like Facebook communities to be more like, to share more like sort of a practical advice, because there is more like of a personal communication there, versus say LinkedIn communities where they share more of brushed up information, general information, which is also great. And you just can read those articles from time to time, but these are not like practical tips. I'm all for being practicals. Sales mistake point 2 about having a local in the country who will make the sales for you. Yes, what about it? What about it? Have you had any success hiring a local in another country who actually did refer good clients to yourself? Because I didn't. I know one case when this worked. But that was when a salesperson lived on the islands, Virgin Islands, if I'm not mistaken, and there actually weren't many other services, like zero. There were zero IT providers there, and he acted as the only sales representative of that IT provider on those islands. And the founder of that agency, that was our Ukrainian agency actually, and I know the owner. He just went there once in a year. He got his deals, let us call deals, contracts, and he paid a certain commission to that salesperson, and he paid some sort of very good commissions. But that was a win-win situation, and there was like zero competition on both the islands and among the service providers. But because service providers just did not know that there was a market existing on those islands, so that was quite a peculiar situation, quite a specific situation. It's not something that would happen like in the States, where there's a lot of your competitors who want to have a chunk of American market, right? Okay, so is setting up meeting an essential process of sales, or could I drive sales only with mail or LinkedIn chats? As my clients are very busy people, I'm confused. Pitching for meeting and for sales. So let me showcase here. If I understood you correctly, so you are not sure whether you should do your sales so you're not sure about the sales channels. Actually, the answer would be whatever works for you. If this works, do it. If this doesn't, for example, mail, do you see a lot of response there? Do you get a lot of response on your cold emails? I presume you do the cold emailing. If you have your major clients coming from cold emails, then leave it. But I actually doubt it, because cold emails only work when they are personalized, and I can actually make a separate topic about that. But if we speak about LinkedIn chats, and yes, LinkedIn works great. LinkedIn actually works great, even though the sales process takes like a little bit longer than say on Upwork. But my recommendation would be do whatever works for you. And yes, your clients are busy people, but so are you. It should not be like you praying, oh, please give us the project. No, you're equal partners in. Your job is not to sell ice to the Eskimo, right? Your job is to give them a service offering. And if there is a fit, you will start working for a fair price. It's not you begging for projects, and they are busy, but so are you. So if you're proposing a call, just do it in a very concise and very calm manner. Hey, such and such, I have a team with say of .NET developers, and I've seen you having a opening for .NET developers. Are you considering working with contractors? I propose us having a 15-minute call on your chosen dated time. That's it. You don't have to ask, to beg. Busy. Everybody is busy. This is a busy world. So just use the sales channel that actually works for you. Emails, I don't know. If they are working for you, let me know. Jack says, it is not feasible to pay them salary. However, there are people who will be willing to accept a commission as a side hustle. They are already drawing a base salary. Yes, but again, do you have any examples when this worked? I mean, for the contractors. Because honestly, I don't have many successful examples when this worked even on the local market. Say in Ukraine, we had such a policy to bring in additional sales representatives based on commissions only, and we offered larger commissions to those salespersons, of course, than we would have offered to our internal salespeople who were on a base salary plus commissions. And again, we didn't get any referrals from those. So yes, you might try. Like it wouldn't. Let me put it this way: it wouldn't hurt for you to set up this agreement with a salesperson. It wouldn't hurt. So you might try. Whether it will work or not, that's another question. Just don't rely on this sales representative as your primary source of clients. That is the way I see it. It is a matter of finding those people. Actually, it's not a matter. I can try to dig up my old contacts, and I have some US sales people we've signed the contracts with. I should dig into this, but actually, you have LinkedIn, you have all those professional groups, you have recruiters, you have recruiting tool on LinkedIn, and you can just message people directly on LinkedIn and ask them if they would like to represent your company. You can have an introductory call, you can have as many calls as you like, and you set up an agreement between yourself and that salesperson. That's actually not the problem. I see no issue here. This maybe our business models might be different. That is why we have different experience. Yes, maybe. Because again, I'm talking about IT outsourcing, yes. And if you have another business model, it might work. For example, for product business, especially if you have like a physical products business, it might work. Or if you have like a specific business niche that you want to bring to that country's market, where you have like not huge competition, whatever, it might work for certain service businesses. But again, I cannot speak from experience here because I've only been working in IT businesses. For example, I worked in an IT product company, startup, and we had a local PR person, and he did a brilliant job. But not a salesperson, not a salesperson, because again, that was a digital product. With digital products, you reach your audiences online anyways. And that was a B2C domain. So again, it wouldn't make any sense having sales representatives there. So again, yes, for different niches, it might work, but I have certain concerns which I expressed here, and I just don't want other people to commit them. Okay, so if you have like maybe other questions, because I can see that several people are still watching this live stream live. So if you have any questions, and let me highlight Vadim's testimonial here, referral about a Patreon membership program, because I just found out this feature that I can highlight your comments. Sorry, Top Guns, I'm just a slow poke here. And yes, if you would like to find out how to build a sales process in your newly built company, IT company, service company, so you may go and check out that on Patreon in replay. The link is available to watch in replay. And we're having monthly masterclasses on all sorts of IT entrepreneurial related issues. So you might want to join in. The lowest tier is as low as $20 per month. So you might join in and enjoy those master classes, plus all the legal documents. I release one legal document per month, and you can download it and use it for your business. Documents like NDAs, MSAs, employee NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, right? And statement of works and sales metrics, whatever. So I release a document there, so you might enjoy all of those when you join. If you have, okay, I have some new comments coming here, and that is, I'm from India, but could I mention my location as USA on LinkedIn profile for better reach to my clients? That is a tricky question, to be honest. That is a tricky question. Firstly, people will find out that you're not based in the USA. Yes, the reach will be high. I mean, the response rate probably will be higher, but then when people will find out that you're not based in the States, or no one from your company, no one from your core team will be based in the States, the trust rate will, go down. If you had, for example, your company registered in the USA, but you yourself and your core team are based in India, that is okay. That is okay. And that is a normal experience, I would say. For example, I might indicate that I'm based in Estonia to underline that I have an Estonian-based company. But if I myself am based in Ukraine, all of my core team is based in Ukraine, and then we contact someone and the response rate is higher, but then they learn that we're not from the States, and it just wouldn't look good. I just don't find it necessary. You can try, I'm all for the practical here, a practical approach here. Do A/B testing, right? If you have another salesperson, for example, try to indicate USA for that person profile, and you stay with, because you have a major profile, I wouldn't play a lot with it. I have my doubts about this, and stay the same, that you're based in India. And then see which response is higher and whether or not the clients are disappointed when they find out that you're not actually based in the US. Again, I wouldn't recommend doing that. That does not look good. And you know what? I've been recently hiring. I just released an open position on our LinkedIn page for my company, senior front-end engineer, and we actually almost closing this vacancy by now. And what I found out, I indicated a location on certain resource, and I wanted that person to be from Europe for the time zone, because the core team is based in Europe, in multiple countries, but in Europe. And I had all sorts of people contacting me from different parts of the world, even people whose English level was not as high as we asked them to. We needed upper intermediate / advanced English level. And that is, again, our client's requirements. And even if that person's tech skills were high, we wouldn't recommend that person to the client if their English level is not high. And again, when I open someone whose name is, say, Alexander Ivanov, and then I find out that this person is not Alexander Ivanov, but say someone from Asia, or from, for example, from Canada, and we don't work with North America because of legal. We cannot pay them salaries as required by their companies. So we have some legal here. And when I find this out, am I disappointed as a potential employer? Yes. And I presume so will your potential clients. Jack Daniel says, I would advise against it. Oh, okay. I have people confirming here. Me too. A great chance that they will find out and your reputation will suffer. Alexander confirms. Yes. So Jack, Alexander, I agree with you here. You don't want to read that. Better be so I'm all for transparency. Be as transparent as possible. For example, if you have only 5 people on your team, among them, say 3 juniors and 2 middles, be transparent with your clients. They might put you to projects that are more suitable to your skill set, rather than saying, we've got 10 seniors, and then you're given the project and nobody from your team can do that, and guess what will happen? So no, just be honest. Reputation matters. Again, Jack confirms my words. So your reputation and integrity will carry your business in the long run. And I cannot agree more here. Okay, guys. So who else has any questions here? Because it's like sort of a Q&A time today. It turned up to that. And I like this note that your reputation and integrity will carry your business in the long run. I can even subscribe to that. I can even vote to that. And yes, it must, Jack proceeds to say, it must always be protected. A simple thing like a location change can destroy it. And yes, I think that is the case. Like I had my location, for example, changed to the USA when I worked for a US-based company. But then again, I had a reason to that. I had several business trips to the USA, and I was supposed to meet people there. So I had a reason to do that. But afterwards, as soon as I settled down in Ukraine and started my business here, you can see on my LinkedIn page that I'm from Ukraine, and I never had any issues from clients. Clients understand, and they will understand whether or not you're working from another country. That's typical. Like, for example, everybody understands that I'm not a native speaker, says, and I need to improve my English, obviously. And but then again, nobody cares until you can deliver the work. Just be professional and deliver your part of work in the professional way, in the best way, and everything will be all right. Okay, Top Guns. I guess on this light note, we should close our live stream. If you enjoyed it, let me know that in the chat. I would appreciate that. And as you can understand, I love talking to people. And if you will be having any more questions, make sure to throw them down, to write them in the comment section to this live stream. It will be available in a few minutes or maybe in an hour. The Upwork takes its time to process such a huge video. We are over an hour now. So you just write down in the comments. And if you've been long enough with me, you know that I always answer the questions in the comment section if I can. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy that you've been so active in the comment section, in the chat. Thank you, all of you who took your time to join us live. And I wish you a great weekend, safe weekend, and yeah, stay safe. That is the most important thing. Have a great day, and bye-bye for now.